Okay, so this question is about group data. So again, we've got to be careful we understand how to interpret it. It's about the heights of 30 students, so always think about the context of the question. So we've got one student who's between 130 and 140 centimetres, 7 students between this, 8 students between this, 10 students between this, and 4 between this. And again, look at the inequality signs. It's saying that it's greater than 140, less than or equal to 150 for these 7 students. Write down the modal class interval. Well, modal implies the most often, the highest frequency. And in this case, the highest frequency is that. So the interval itself, these are the intervals. So it's going to be 160. The height is greater than 160, but less than or equal to 170 centimetres. Okay, so modal class interval, find the interval that happens the most often. That was the interval that happened the most often. It then says an incorrect frequency polygon has been drawn. Write down 2 things that are wrong with this. Well, what we've got to remember is that a frequency polygon is where you plot the values in the middle of the intervals. So you plot the frequencies against the middle of each group interval. Okay, so let's have a look. 130 is the first plot, 140 is the second plot. So the first thing I've done wrong is they've not plotted against the middle of the interval. So not plotted against the middle of each interval. Okay, and then when we look through, have they plotted the correct frequencies? 1, 7, 8, 10 and 4, so there's nothing wrong with the actual frequencies. And the other thing is that there shouldn't be this line joining the ends. Although polygon implies a many-sided shape, we don't plot along the bottom, so shouldn't have joined first point to the last point. Okay, so, and you could argue that there's no title, but it's really about those 2 things, this particular question. So that's frequency polygons. You plot the frequencies against the middle of each group interval, so technically it should have been at 135 and 1, 145 and 7, 155 against 8, 165 against 10, and 175 against 4. And then join together with straight lines. Okay, so that's what it should have been technically. Obviously you didn't have to draw it. The question just says write 2 things that is wrong, and that's what's wrong with it. Okay, so some information about how to work with group data and frequency polygons.